Flame of Love of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the Spiritual Diary, Chapter 5, Episode 75. To Save the Dying, August 27th and 28th, 1965. It hurts me so much, my adored Jesus, that because of tiredness, I cannot pray tonight for the souls of the dying. But you see in my soul my great desire to do so. In my great pain, he consoled me with these words. Jesus said, I accept your soul's great desire, which you offer for the dying. Yes, I will grant this also in favor of the souls of the dying. I was calmed and went to bed. During the night, I woke up often, and I immediately began to implore for the dying. However, I did not have the strength to get up to pray. During the same night, the Lord Jesus assured me that he accepted my desire to keep vigil, as he expressed it himself. The next day, on the morning of August 28th, before and during Holy Mass, Jesus said, Now, my Elizabeth, I continue the conversation that did not take place last night. I thank you for your effort, but now pay attention and remember what I say. So that others can understand the conversation, first, I must write about what happened in the family. In a short period of time, 2 grandchildren were born, one on August 22nd, Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and the other on September 8th. And so, for my little strength, the work was excessive. I felt that I could not carry on. I begged the Lord in his kindness to give me strength, because I could not manage to help my 2 daughters-in-law. When I woke the next day, I possessed an amazing vitality. I worked all day with no tiredness. This lasted for 2 weeks. This extraordinary strength, I realized, distanced me from the Lord. I even thought that if it continued this way, and if I remained in this great physical shape, I could even go back to work. I entertained these thoughts because I had regained my bodily strength. Then the Lord Jesus spoke. Jesus said, Now you will understand even better why I stripped you of your bodily strength. You see, while you were weak, you served me with all your strength. Now that I have increased your strength, you do not serve me as before. Your thoughts are distracted, and you give me less time. Moreover, you do not stay with me as you did before. As to the length of time and strength, it affects me much less. This strength will remain just a few days before I take it away. I only gave it for the good of your family. Fast until the cause reaches the Pope. September 18th, 1965. The Lord Jesus said, I want to ask something great of you, my Elizabeth. Will you commit yourself to that? Fast on bread and water until the holy cause reaches the Holy Father. He repeated this request a few days later. This request confused me greatly, because I did not think I could fulfill it due to my weak strength. However, I did not have any distressing doubt as to whether it was the request and the will of the Lord. The fire of charity is burning me, and I want only what the Lord wants. I have no fear of being deceived by the evil one. The Lord's request left me dismayed, and I could not immediately give an affirmative reply. something went on that never happened before in my life. For days, I was going back and forth concerning this decision. Generally, when I think about doing something, I decide quickly what I want to do, and I get it done. But this did not emanate from my thought. In hearing these words, my womanly weakness reacted. I opposed this with all my strength, knowing that because of my lack of energy and willpower, I would be unable to do it. For 3 days I fought a battle within. On the 4th day, I mentally accepted it. It is only after the arduous struggles of the 5th and the 6th days that I fully accepted it. On the 7th day, my soul was filled with joy. Having fully accepted the Lord's will, I went to the sister assigned to me. I told her all that happened in my soul. She was getting ready to go to my confessor. I begged her to ask him to allow me to keep this fast. On the 9th day, counting from the day the Lord asked me, I received the answer that he forbade me to do so. For 2 days, I had peace in my soul until the Lord Jesus repeated his request. Jesus said, I stand by my request. You must repeat it several times to your confessor. I felt very confused, and I abandoned myself to the Lord Jesus concerning the interdiction of my confessor. Negative answer by the priest. At the end of September 1965, I went to my confessor at the appointed time. Because of these difficulties, I was shaking. I repeated to him the Lord's request. My confessor repeated his negative reply and showed me how absurd it was. In spite of this refusal, I repeated the request because the Lord had asked me. My confessor continued to explain why he considered this absurd. Although he can only exercise the rights given by God, he could not grant this because it would be contrary to the 5th commandment. If the Lord Jesus would manifest the request to him, he would not oppose it and would immediately grant permission. When I left my confessor, the suffering in my soul caused by the refusal ceased for a few hours. Then the suffering came over me with great power, and I could hardly walk for days. When I thought about food, I got dizzy. At breakfast and at the late afternoon snack, this ceased because I took only bread and water at the request of the Lord Jesus. He had told me that only at lunch I should eat other foods, not for their taste, but only to feed my body. On Monday and Thursday, I live only on bread and water. I do likewise on Friday. It is only after 6 p.m. that I take other nourishment. Thus, on those days, the suffering that I feel in my soul ceases when I take other food also. Since then, I have had indescribable suffering, a continual interior anguish, distress, and nausea. One day, the Lord Jesus said, "Do you see how much I love you? I reward your perseverance to do good and convert it into blessing for my work of redemption. I need your sacrifices so you ceaselessly give momentum to our messages and offer reparation to my offended Sacred Heart." He spoke for a long time, and once again, emphasizing his request, he sent me back to my confessor. Jesus said, "Repeat my request to him. Do not fear. Tell him that I want you to fulfill my request until the petitions entrusted to you arrive at the Holy Father. Tell your confessor that I change your sufferings according to whatever my divine wisdom and my work of redemption demand. He should not be afraid and should abandon himself to me. Elizabeth, you need patience and perseverance. Whenever I send you, you must go humbly and promptly. Be careful. You cannot disobey the command of your confessor, not even for my divine request. I dared to ask the Lord if he was using this request to test me. Jesus said, "No. If your confessor had not ignored my request, but had accepted it and abandoned himself to me, then your acceptance of sacrifices with my help would have achieved the result intended by my divine plans. I know very well that he would have received the momentum and that with all his strength he would have succeeded in making the cause reach the Holy Father. Your acceptance of the strict fast as a sacrifice would have continually urged him to take additional measures."